Chapter 31. The Punishment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did you have enough fun, Veronica? A chilling stern voice came from the doorway, making Veronica and Catherine flinch. Sister Josephine. Veronica stuttered. She hoped Sister Josephine didn't hear their conversation. Catherine shoved her out of the bed and she got up as well. They stood side by side and lowered their heads. They didn't dare to make another sound. Sister Josephine seemed furious. She strode inside the room and stood in front of Veronica and Catherine. She glared at Veronica and rebuked, "I had a high expectation of you. I thought you would become serious after getting the chance of becoming assistant priest. It was your dream, wasn't it? Veronica." Veronica shuddered and replied in a quivering voice, "Why? Yes. Come to the disciplinary room tomorrow morning. You will be interrogated and then will be punished. You can forget about being an assistant priest. You might stay like this for the rest of your life." After reprimanding her, Sister Josephine looked at the girl next to Veronica. She sharply scolded her, "Catherine, I thought you were smarter. How could you break the rules and get out of your room after the curfew?" Catherine lowered her head even more. "I'm sorry, Sister Josephine. I was worried about Ver and I couldn't sleep. You are coming to the disciplinary room with Veronica as well. Right after breakfast." Sister Josephine glared at them for a few more seconds before leaving. After the door was tightly shut, Veronica collapsed on the floor. "I don't want to be punished," she whined. Catherine sat on the floor and stated, "It's better than finding out where you were. I hope you are prepared." Veronica hugged her friend and apologized, "I'm sorry I dragged you with me, Kathy." Catherine patted her back and commented, "It was me who came to your room. Don't worry about me. I would rather worry about you." Truthfully, she was worried about Veronica's circumstances more than her problem. The next day, Veronica and Catherine went to the disciplinary room after breakfast. They met Sister Josephine, Sister Mary, and a red-haired beauty. The red-haired beauty was none other than the head of the southeast tower. Sister Josephine sternly gazed at Veronica. If looks could kill, Veronica would be murdered by now. "Veronica, where did you go yesterday?" Veronica gulped and answered, "I was in the mountain range." "You knew you had to work 3 months to be appointed as an assistant priest. Why did you still do that?" Veronica hesitated before replying, I was depressed that I had to clean the temple all by myself just to get the position. I was wondering, why would someone need to clean the temple to be a priest? Shouldn't a person have to be kind, loving and forgiving to become the child of Goddess Juvena?" Catherine kept her head low and praised her friend in her mind, "Great. Ver, you can do this. Is this what you think? How naive." Sister Josephine sharply snorted. "To be a child of Goddess Juvena one needs a strong sense of responsibility, hardworking and patience. And, you have none of those qualities. That's why I gave you that task. I wanted to see how hardworking and patient you would be. You have failed me. I'm utterly shocked and disappointed." Veronica cursed herself in her heart. If she knew that it was a test, she wouldn't do something like this. Her head wasn't capable of thinking of something complicated. Furthermore, she needed to find the real cause of Sister Ruth's death. She had to go after that guy in black clothes. It was unavoidable. Sister Josephine added, "As you can see, these 2 unfortunate beings had broken the rules." Catherine was in Veronica's room in the middle of the night. "Sister Mary, she is under you, isn't she? How did you let this happen?" Sister Mary's eyes were puffy after crying for 2 nights. She seemed tired. "I didn't feel like taking a round in the dorm, Sister Josephine. It's my mistake. I'm sorry." Sister Josephine glanced at the red-haired beauty and remarked, "And Abigail, how did you let Veronica go to the mountain range and skip her work? You do realize that she was supposed to be an assistant priest." If she keeps being like that, she will never get promoted. Abigail lowered her head and calmly apologized, "I'm sorry, Sister Josephine. She always goes off on her own." Suddenly, she became so obedient and I let my guard down. What kind of excuse is this? Sister Josephine slammed the table, making Sister Mary, Veronica and Catherine flinch. She looked at Catherine and commanded, "Catherine, you will work in the vegetable garden for the next few months. I don't want to hear any excuses." "Yes, Sister Josephine," Catherine didn't dare to object. Although she had to work under the sunlight from dawn to dusk, she was glad that she wasn't demoted. She worked hard for this promotion. Sister Josephine stared at Veronica and declared, "Veronica, due to your disobedience, you will be cast out of the tower. You will live with the children of Northeast Tower. You will take care of them from morning to night, cleaning their clothes, feeding them and teaching them. Since Sister Ruth is gone, someone has to take that place. Within 10 years, if you can do your duty diligently, you will be appointed as the assistant priest. This is your punishment. See. Children." Veronica's heart dropped on the floor. She didn't like children. More than that, she could never get along with them. She would always fight with them if they came across something. How would they listen to her? They were going to destroy her within a day. Catherine gulped and looked at her friend pitifully. She knew very well how Veronica was on bad terms with the children of the Northeast. Sister Josephine was satisfied by her reaction. She said, "If I hear a single problem from the children, extra 10 years will be added to your term." "No way!" Veronica cried out. "Hold it right there, Sister Josephine." Chapter 32. Sister Josephine's Worry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 32. Sister Josephine's Worry. If I hear a single problem from the children, extra 10 years will be added to your term. At that time, Sister Josephine looked like a cruel stepmother. "No way!" Veronica cried out. "Hold it right there, Sister Josephine." Someone opened the door and entered the disciplinary room. The room brightened up instantly. Everyone's eyes turned toward the uninvited guest. "Head priest." Veronica gasped. She never saw him up close. She only saw him from far away during New Year's Eve. To be able to be in the same room as him, she felt all of her impurity washing away. The head priest stepped forward. This 60-year-old man had a polite smile on his face. His short hair turned gray. His eyes were gentle. A pure aura was spreading from his body. He opened his mouth and said, "I heard there was some trouble." His voice was serene, making everyone's heart calm down. Sister Josephine, Sister Mary, and Abigail knelt the moment they saw him. Sister Josephine lowered her head and said, "Head priest, may the goddess bless the light upon you." After that, she raised her head and replied, "This isn't something you have to waste your precious time on." Her voice was unusually gentle. The head priest stated, "I think I have the right to know. And please stand up, all of you. I'm not worthy of this much respect." "How can you say this, head priest?" Sister Josephine retorted. "You are our light. You show us the way to Goddess Juvena. You are her most precious." 5 of them stood up. They stood in front of the head priest. The head priest shook his head. "I'm not the light. The light comes from Goddess Juvena. And, I'm not the only one. We are all her precious." He turned his head toward Veronica. "And you must be." Veronica hurriedly bowed. Her heart trembled in nervousness. She did her best to stay calm and said, "May the goddess bless the light upon you, head priest." "I'm Veronica. I'm still an apprentice." The head priest nodded. "You look too old to be an apprentice." "How old are you?" Veronica politely answered, "I'm 18. You are definitely too old for that position. Why haven't you become a junior priest?" Head priest seemed curious. It's because I'm not worthy yet. Veronica took all the blames on her shoulders. Sister Josephine was satisfied with this answer and included, head priest, she doesn't do the work properly and often skips her duty. She even stayed all day in the mountain range and only came back after curfew. That's why I haven't been able to give her a proper position that she is not worthy of. The head priest calmly heard everything that Sister Josephine had to say and then shared his wisdom. A person's worth comes from their heart. One's sincerity makes them how worthy one can be. If a person is not worthy of something, they must be worthy of something else. He stepped toward Veronica and placed a hand on her head. Veronica slightly quivered. She felt something spreading all over her body. With an open mouth, she gaped at him. She heard him saying, "Veronica, a precious child of Goddess Jovina, I hereby declare you one of the healers of our kingdom, Utah Hill. May the goddess shine you with her pure light." Veronica blinked. She thought maybe her head finally began to crack and she heard something wrong. There was no way she would be appointed as a healer without letting others know that she could heal others. They have to have some proof for her to be declared as a healer. Others were also confused. They were astounded by head priest's sudden declaration. Sister Josephine came forth and said, "Head priest, there must have been some mistake. Veronica doesn't have the power of the healers. She is an ordinary girl." "Is she?" The head priest didn't seem surprised. He chuckled and then stated, "Sister Josephine has been too busy to see one's inner ability. You need to rest your eyes often. Only then you can see through a person's heart." Sister Josephine gently retorted, "Head priest, even if you say that, she is a disobedient child." Her face showed some restlessness. The head priest didn't seem offended. He remarked, "For some reason, it seems like you don't want her to be a healer. Don't worry about her safety. Veronica is a precious child. Goddess Jovina will protect her all the way to the end." Sister Josephine's face slightly bloomed with color. She was embarrassed that her true thoughts were exposed in front of others. She had seen Veronica grow up in her own eyes. She knew what Veronica was capable of. Being a healer was a heavy responsibility. They would have to go to battlefields when they were hired. Some of them even lost their lives. For a happy-go-lucky girl like Veronica, it would be hard for her to get used to this kind of thing. However, she couldn't let others know what she was thinking. She cleared her throat and stated, "I'm not worried about her safety. I'm worried that she will bring disasters with her carelessness and shame our temple." Veronica pursed her lips. What could be more humiliating than Sister Josephine's words? Even if she never became a healer, she just lost her face in front of the head priest. The head priest nodded as though he was agreeing with Sister Josephine. "And yet," he said, yes, you can worry about it if you want to, but I have information Veronica used her healing power last night. That is why I came to take her with me." Veronica's jaw dropped. No one knew that she used her power except for Arthur. Moreover, she lied that she was in the mountain range. If the head priest knew that she had used her power, he must have known where she was yesterday. How did you know?" The words escaped her mouth before she would realize what she was saying. Chapter 33. The Head Priest's Answer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 33. The Head Priest's Answer. How did you know? The words escaped her mouth before she would realize what she was saying. Impudent. Show some manners in front of the head priest. Sister Josephine reprimanded her. She couldn't even dream about talking to the head priest so casually. And, here there was a girl who didn't know her place talk to the head priest as if they were acquaintances. The head priest let out a pleasant laugh. This was the first time someone from the temple talked to him so casually. He didn't reply to Veronica's question. Rather, he added more mystery saying, "Someone had found out that you have used your power and informed me. That's why I came to fetch you. From now on you will live in a secluded place. You will be taught how to use your power and can have control over it. Veronica tilted her head, not understanding the meaning of his words. But I already know how to use my power. I have proper control over it. Not quite, the head priest wasn't mad at her ignorance. He proposed, let's talk somewhere private. The other four women craved to find out what the head priest and Veronica were going to talk about. However, they didn't get the chance. The head priest took a walk in the direction of the inner temple along with Veronica. The head priest didn't want to disclose more information regarding her in front of others. That's why he took her away from them. Veronica followed him from behind with timid steps. She was anxious to know what else he knew about her. If he knew, then there would be a logical explanation for the people who were looking for in the town. She prayed in her heart. She didn't want him to know that she was in the town. At that time, a gust of wind rushed in from the outside, as it spun near her before departing. She had to keep her eyes close and could only feel the wind. The wind carried a sweet smell. Her silver hair danced in the wind and disheveled her hair. She woke up late and didn't have the time to tie them up. She quickly raised her hands and tied them like a bun before the head priest noticed her mess. The head priest walked to the flower garden and stopped in front of the white rose bed. As the soft breeze blew, the plants moved in unison like professional dancers. The head priest finally opened his mouth and said, "You see these flowers? They are maintained by some specific people. If they aren't maintained, they will grow up as they want to and it will look like a jungle. It won't look decorative and beautiful. After all, they are wild beings." After a pause, he continued, "Same goes for your power. It's useful and powerful. To keep it disciplined and beautiful like these flowers, you have to maintain it. You have to have control over it. You are its master. If you can't do it, it will become wild and it may harm you and the people around you." He added, "You may think that you have control over our power, but how many times did you actually use it?" Veronica shook her head and answered, "Not that much." She didn't need to count how many times she used her power. Most of the time she used her power on the animals and only once she used it on a human. The head priest asked, "How was your emotion at that time?" "It was okay." She was always calm when she was healing an animal or Arthur. The head priest nodded in understanding. "So, your emotions were stable. What if your emotions become unstable and you need to use your healing power? You have no idea who to control your emotion. Can you even control your power at that time?" Veronica seemed troubled. She couldn't help but ask, "Will my power really harm anyone?" The head priest replied, "There is no certainty. We must always prepare for the worst. This way, we won't lose anything precious." Veronica fidgeted before saying, "Did it ever happen? The outburst of power, I mean." The head priest stated, "Did you not know? Goddess Javina lost her power control because she was emotionally unbalanced and she died trying to save many people she cared for. There was such a thing." Veronica's eyes widened. She didn't know there was history like this. The head priest chuckled. "There are so many things you don't know about our beloved goddess. There are so many books that are not displayed outside the temple. If you become a successful healer, I will give you access to the library's forbidden section." "Will you really?" Veronica's eyes sparkled like a child got candy. The head priest was amused by her reaction. "I promise." "Also." Veronica gulped before asking, "How did you know I used my power?" The head priest mysteriously answered, "This is something I cannot answer you. However, I can tell you one thing, whenever a healer uses their power for the first time, we find out." He answered in a roundabout way. Veronica became dumbfounded. She stated, "It wasn't the first time I used my power though. I used my power for the first time when I was 8 years old." The head priest finally turned to see her face. He seemed astonished by her claim. "Is that so? Whom did you heal at that time?" Veronica hesitantly answered, that was, a squirrel. The head priest seemed more confused. And, whom did you heal yesterday? That was. Veronica's palms became sweaty. A human. She regretted asking him that question. Now they were going to find out what she was in the town even if they didn't know before. There was no way she would meet a human being in the Lone Mountains. A human in the mountain range. The head priest was puzzled. How did you meet that human? Was that a traveler? Chapter 34. The offer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A human in the mountain range. The head priest was puzzled. How did you meet that human? Was that a traveler? The series of questions made Veronica flabbergasted. She realized that she shot a bullet on her own foot. She wished to bury herself because of her stupidity. Calm down, Ver. This isn't the time to worry about unnecessary things. Just starve a day for lying to the head priest, Veronica told herself. I haven't seen the face of the person. I was resting in the mountain cave when I saw him lying in the corner. He was severely injured. I thought he was a mountain climber. He must have accidentally fallen and injured himself. That's why I saved him, she lied in a swift motion without holding back. In her mind, she was stabbing her heart. Her guilty conscience was killing her. She didn't show her inner struggle in her expression. The head priest seemed to believe her. Or rather, he didn't imagine her being so brave that she would lie in front of his face. He inquired, what was he wearing? Veronica answered without hesitation, it was so dark to see properly. He was wearing a cape, warm clothes, and boots. I see. The head priest smiled at her and said, you are really kind for saving a stranger. We need people who love people to spread the stories of Goddess Jovina and give people hope and peace. Veronica bashfully stated, it's because I have been taught by kind people like Sister Josephine and Sister Mary. The head priest gave her a gentle look. The more he talked to her, the more he liked it. Pack your bag. Take everything that belongs to you and leave everything that doesn't belong to you. From now on, you will stay in the Rosemary Temple. Rosemary Temple. Veronica stuttered. Her blood began to boil. While the great temple was situated right under the mountain range, the Rosemary Temple was situated inside the mountain. It was the oldest temple in history. This temple was a legend. It was said that Saint Ava lived there. Saint Ava was the top healer in Utah Hill. No one had the power to surpass her. Just like the priests were under the head priest, all the healers in this country followed Saint Ava. Most of the healers were trained by the top healers who lived in the palace. However, Veronica was appointed under Saint Ava. It meant she was going to be trained with the saint's guidance. However, more than being thrilled, Veronica was confused. Why me, she asked. Unlike others, why do I have to be trained by Saint Ava? Is my power dangerous? Am I in trouble? No, no. Where did you get this idea? The head priest denied her claim and assured her, you are chosen to be her apprentice until you can prove your worth. We haven't seen you using power. How can we decide whether your power is dangerous or not? The reason who will be taught by the saint because she has chosen you herself. When you used your power, she had got a signal. That's why she came to me and requested me so that I could come here for you. Saint Ava wanted me. Veronica gasped. Her heart rate accelerated. How could an insignificant person like her get the chance to be taught by Saint Ava herself? It sounded unbelievable. She couldn't help but pinch her arm. When she felt a stinging pain, she realized that she wasn't daydreaming. The head priest was indeed standing in front of her and offered her to become Saint Ava's apprentice. Veronica still had a doubt. She questioned, why did she find out last night? Why didn't she find out when I first used my power? If the saint found out when she was 8 years old, she didn't have to suffer from working too much. Just thinking about cleaning the temple alone made her shiver. The head priest thought for a while and answered, "It's because you used your power to heal a human. You needed to spend extra power to heal a severely injured human. I think that's why she found out about you." Her innocent emerald eyes looked at him. She requested, "Can I stay here for the night? Since I'm not sure how long I have to stay in the Rosemary Temple, I want to spend some time with my friends before leaving." The head priest easily agreed to her demand, "I don't mind. But, you have to reach the inner temple tomorrow at dawn. I will take you to the Rosemary Temple." "All right," Veronica vigorously nodded her head. She couldn't wait to be the apprentice of Saint Ava. She couldn't express how elated she was upon hearing the news. When she went back to the disciplinary room, Catherine grabbed her arms. "Ver, did I just hear right? Are you really a healer?" Her voice was quivering in excitement. Just like her friend, Catherine was also exhilarated. "Calm down, Catherine. Let Veronica talk." Sister Josephine was sitting on a chair and calmly stated. Her eyes landed on Veronica and asked her, "What did the head priest tell you?" Veronica softly smiled and narrated shortly, "The head priest told me to pack my bag and wait for him in the inner temple tomorrow at dawn. He wants me to be the apprentice of Saint Ava." Catherine gasped. She covered her mouth. She couldn't believe her ears. The same thing happened to Abigail and Sister Mary. Yes, their expressions were as animated as Catherine's. Sister Josephine blinked. Although she had prepared her heart, she didn't expect to hear that. She readjusted her glasses and said, "All right, pack your bag. Since today is your last day in the temple, you don't have to work today. I'll appoint someone else in your position. May the goddess bless the light upon you." "Thank you, Sister Josephine." Veronica bowed and took the blessing. After she came out of the disciplinary room, Catherine hugged her from behind. "Oh my goodness. Ver, I can't believe you are a healer now." She couldn't control her excitement. "I still think I'm dreaming," Veronica spoke truthfully. "Oh, don't worry too much. Why don't we spend some time together?" Catherine suggested. She couldn't possibly concentrate on work right now. "Oh, about that, I have some unfinished business to take care of." Chapter 35. Two Friends Night Adventure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 35. Two Friends Night Adventure. In the middle of the night, Veronica secretly left the room once again. She went to the east border where she told Catherine to wait. She was wearing her boots and nightclothes, and draped the worn-out cape over her shoulders. Just as she expected, Catherine was waiting for her. Her body was covered with white clothes under her brown cape. As soon as Catherine saw her friend, she raised her hand and waved at her. Veronica quickly went over her side and clasped her hands. She lowered her voice and asked, "How long have you been waiting?" Catherine answered, "Not too long." "Hey Ver, is it okay to walk around like that in the compound? What if someone sees us?" Veronica assured her, "Don't worry. No one walks around the compound in the middle of the night for no good reason." Catherine relaxed a bit. She looked around cautiously and inquired, "Anyway, why are we venturing inside the compound? I thought we were going to the mountain range." Veronica shook her head saying, "No, we are going to Sister Ruth's room." "Huh? Why Sister Ruth's room?" Catherine was confused. She didn't expect that answer. Veronica took a deep breath and whispered, "I'm going to tell you something. Don't freak out." Catherine was curious. Whenever her friend came up with an idea or a plan, it was always full of excitement. It provided them with the much-needed thrill in their boring yet disciplined life. That's why she never said no to her friend, just like now. "Okay, go on. Actually, the thing is, Sister Ruth, she..." Veronica disclosed the incident the other night. Catherine gasped in surprise. What are you saying? Did she kill herself? You mean she attempted suicide? Veronica put her index finger on her friend's lips, hushing her friend, and said, "Lower your voice. I've heard with my own ears and seen with my own eyes. That's why I know for sure." Then why did they lie? Catherine pondered deeply. Unfortunately, Veronica had no idea about that either. I don't know. Whatever they did, there should be a proper explanation. That's why I need to know why she killed herself. All right, I will go with you. There was no way Catherine could walk away from something exciting like this. Those two headed to the senior priest's building. They moved cautiously so that even if someone was walking in the middle of the night, they wouldn't get caught. It didn't take that much time before they reached the building. They surveyed their surroundings for a moment, and only after confirming that no one was around, did they proceed to enter the building. They just had to walk along the corridor on the first floor and they would reach the first room in the left corner that belonged to Sister Ruth. Thinking of her bright smile, Veronica and Catherine's eyes teared up. They silently marched closer and stopped in front of the door. Veronica checked the doorknob and stated, "It's unlocked." It was only natural for it to be unlocked since there wasn't any thief here. If it was locked, it would mean someone was trying to hide something. They opened the door and quietly entered the room. Since the doors and windows were locked for a while, the air inside carried a damp scent. The temperature of the room was cold, as though the room had died along with its previous occupant. It was shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere. Veronica adjusted her eyes in the dark and went toward the window. She closed the curtains and told her friend, "You can light the candle now." "Okay, but if we get caught, the blame is on you," saying that Catherine lighted the candle that was on the wooden table. "Yes," Veronica agreed without hesitation. The candlelight illuminated the room. It was a small room. The room was decorated rather simply. There wasn't much furniture. Only a single bed in front of the window, a wooden table and a chair placed beside the door, and a small wardrobe across the room. Catherine stacked the matchbox back in the drawer and then put her arms around her waist before looking around. "So, what are we looking for?" Veronica began to look around too. It was her first time stepping into this room. She was unfamiliar with this place. She replied, "Something like a diary, where Sister Ruth wrote about her daily activities, her thoughts, and whatnot." "Fine." Catherine strode toward the table and began to check the books and diaries, neatly stacked in one corner. Most of the books were religious books and children's storybooks. The books were old. Most of them were worn out. She carefully moved them so that they would not tear apart. "Nothing is here," Catherine declared. She looked through all the notebooks and diaries but found nothing suspicious, much less anything useful. Most of the notes were about duties and her students' lessons. "There is nothing here either," Veronica commented. She was skimming through the wardrobe. Catherine tapped her chin and commented, "What if she doesn't have a habit of writing a diary at all? We won't know unless we look for it properly." Veronica strode toward the bed and moved the white bed cover. Catherine gave her a hand. Veronica moved the pillow and finally found a brown dot-colored animal skin diary, placed right under it. "This looks expensive," she commented. She took the diary and walked closer to the candle. "Is that her diary?" Catherine peeked. Veronica read a few lines and flipped over some pages and skimmed through the lines. Her eyes lit up. "Right, that's it." She wasn't able to express her excitement before they heard some voices. The way the volume increased gradually indicated that some people were coming in their direction. Or it could be said that they were actually coming to this room. The girls exchanged glances. Catherine blew the candle off and hurriedly followed her friend to hide under the bed. The footsteps came closer. Holding their breaths, the girls waited for what was going to happen next. They wished no one could come inside. The voices outside the door hushed down. And the door was opened. Chapter 36. Someone is coming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Veronica and Catherine held their breaths. Their heartbeats escalated. As they stayed under the bed, their limpid eyes focused on the door. The footsteps came closer and stopped in front of the door. The words behind the door suddenly quieted down. Soon, the door was opened. Several footsteps entered the room. The door was open. Someone came here, a low voice could be heard. It was a man's voice. The voice was colder than usual. Someone else looked around and questioned him, why would someone come into Ruth's room? There was another person. He said, maybe he or she was missing Sister Ruth. Sigh, she was a good person. 3 men in Sister Ruth's room in the middle of the night. What on earth are they here for? Veronica wondered. Is that so? Then why is the bed disheveled? The first person pointed his finger at the bed. The second person was surprised to see the bed like that. Ha! Could it be that someone slept here? He hurriedly marched forward and took care of the bed. Veronica pinched Catherine's arm. If she made the bed properly, they wouldn't have noticed it. Catherine flinched but dared not to make a sound. The first person wasn't that easy to be fooled. He stated with a frown, for what reason would a person do that? We all have beds. It's not that her bed is comfier. All beds including the head priest's bed are as hard as rocks. The third person came up with a clue. Then it means only one thing. The intruder was missing Sister Ruth. The first person didn't like that theory. He remarked, then at least she or he should make the bed. What kind of discipline have we taught them? Can't even close the door, he scoffed. The second one suggested, maybe it's the children. They must be missing her and came to her room. The first person didn't agree with his logic. And how come the children know where her room is? They don't even come to this area. They are forbidden. The second person added, only junior priests can come here. Could it be, one of them came here? The first person took a round of the room. All of a sudden, he paused. Wait, if it's someone junior or senior, they wouldn't leave the room like that. It could be the person is still in the room. Veronica and Catherine froze on the spot. They were worried that something like that could happen. They gulped and waited silently. The second man was quick to understand what his fellow meant. He exclaimed, you mean that person is here right now? Who will break the curfew? No one is insane. We can't know for sure. He or she must have come here and when they heard our voices, they hid. Let's see if someone is in the wardrobe, hiding from us. The first person strode to the wardrobe and opened it. See. No one is there. You are thinking too much, the third person commented. What about under the bed? We haven't searched there, saying that the first person went in the direction on the bed. Veronica and Catherine began to sweat. They thought, I'm doomed. There is no turning back. They saw the pair of feet stopped in front of the bed. The person bent down and his fingers grabbed the hem of the bed cover. The girls tightly shut their eyes. Suddenly a stern voice was heard, Lord Alexander, what pleasure do I owe you in the middle of the night in Sister Ruth's room? The owner of the hand paused and raised his head. The right corner of his lips lifted ever so slightly. Sister Josephine, it's a pleasure to see you here. Did you just break the rules? Sister Josephine strictly stated, that's not your place to point it out. What are you and your men doing in the inner part of the temple? This isn't a place for you to step on. The man called Lord Alexander didn't seem to be bothered by her attitude. He smirked and commented, how can I not come to the room of my dead cousin? I was always curious why she left her house and came to live here. He looked around the room and said, I can't believe she left her luxurious life and chose a shabby place to stay. Sister Josephine snapped at him, she chose to follow her own path and found peace living here. That's all she cared about. A person such as yourself has no right to mock others. Hey, woman. Watch your mouth, the second person warned her for being rude to his master. Ah, don't scold her like that. She is your senior, Lord Alexander gently rebuked his subordinate. He didn't seem angry but rather amused. Sister Josephine didn't even flinch under the threat. She kept her stoic face and said, "Since you have seen Sister Ruth's house, please leave at once." You, the second man glared at her. He turned toward Sister Josephine and told her, "See Sister Josephine, your scary face is scaring my people. Please try to be gentler. It will be better for you." He stepped closer to her and whispered, "Human's life is so short. You wouldn't want something terrible to happen to your precious juniors, right?" Sister Josephine glared at him without saying a word. Her eyes showed how much she loathed the person in front of her. After Lord Alexander and his subordinates left, Sister Josephine mumbled, "If it wasn't for you, she would have lived a long life." She let out a deep sigh and shut the door. Veronica and Catherine waited for her footsteps to go further away before breathing out loud. They were holding breaths right before when Lord Alexander was trying to peek under the bed. They forgot to breathe after that. The two girls came out of the bed and stood up. They breathed heavily as though they ran a marathon. That was so intense. Catherine was panting. She wiped the sweats from her forehead. Why did she mean by? She would live a long time without him. She meant that without her cousin, Sister Ruth would live a long life. Her death has something to do with her cousin and the temple hid it for some reason. Veronica looked at the diary and added, "Now that we have her diary, we can find out what caused her death." Chapter 37. They meet again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That very night, Veronica went outside the temple with the diary. Catherine tried to stop her but it was to no avail. When she wanted to tag along being worried about her friend, Veronica forbade her. In the end, Catherine only grumbled complaining that her friend wouldn't tell her anything. Veronica promised that after she came back, she would tell her everything. After that, she used the back door of the kitchen and slipped away into the dark alley. This time, she had changed her clothes before leaving. She would never be foolish enough to get out in her nightclothes again. She wanted to go to Arthur's but she forgot the way to his house's back door. So, she decided to go to the library. Since it was close to the market square, it was easy to find it. As usual, the night market was open and people gathered in a group here and there. She completely avoided them and pulled her hood to cover her head and face. "Isn't it the pretty lady? Isn't it too late to go out?" She was passing the famous bar she went to once and heard a familiar voice. She raised her head and saw the boy who served her juice once. Her face beamed. She exclaimed, "It's you." The bartender was smoking. He moved the cigarette from his mouth and rubbed the flickering fire against the wall as he spoke, "I can't believe I'm seeing my pretty lady once again. It's just how lucky I am. How are you?" Veronica answered, "I'm fine. Thank you for asking. How about you?" The bartender let out a sigh. "The business is going too well. I'm having a hard time keeping up with all the customers." Seeing his miserable expression, Veronica covered her mouth and smiled. She thought his expression was funny. She suggested, "Why don't you hire some people?" The bartender's face lit up with the idea. "That's a good idea. Do you want to help me? I'm sure all those rowdy customers who were rebuking me would quiet down seeing your pretty face." But I..." Veronica hesitated. She had to meet Arthur and come up with the reason behind Sister Ruth's death. The guy clasped his palms together while pleading, "Pretty please. You have to work 2 hours. Well, I did drink here for free. I should pay it off with my hard work. I hope Arthur won't fall asleep by the time I finish working here." Veronica decided to take the job and looked at him. "Fine, but it's just for 2 hours. You are the best." The bartender was relieved. Since we are going to work together, let's introduce ourselves. The name is Maximilian. Please call me Max. Hello, Max. I'm Ver. It's a pleasure to meet you. As usual, she hid her real name. I already like your name, Ver. It's a pleasure to meet you too. Please come in. I will give you a briefing on how to take orders and serve the customers. Max showed her the way in. Arthur was bored sitting all day and night, waiting for the news. His henchman, Sebastian, went to gather some information and he had yet to come and report to him. What's taking him so long? He took a deep breath and stood up. He marched to the window and looked at the city that had yet to sleep. Forget it. He can come and just wait for me. As he thought that, he wrapped a shawl over his body and went out of the house. After walking aimlessly for a while, his throat was feeling itchy. Realizing it was time to drink something, he went to the nearest bar. He loudly ordered his drink and waited for it. When the beer was served, he sipped a mouthful and only then he noticed the person who served the drink. And, it made him choke. Cough. 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 Arthur coughed vigorously until a handkerchief was passed toward him. Are you okay? Veronica asked anxiously. Arthur wiped his mouth and then glanced at her. What are you doing here? Don't tell me you came here to work because you wanted another new experience. Veronica was wearing a navy blue dress. The skirt swayed every time she moved. Her head was covered with the same colored scarf. Her hair had a neat bun. She looked different than before. She explained it to him, someone I know was in trouble. So, I thought of helping him. Him. Arthur raised an eyebrow. He didn't think she would be acquainted with another man other than him. He inquired, who asked for your help? Veronica replied, Max did. Since he offered me a drink once, I thought it was fair to help him. Arthur's sharp orbs skimmed through the bar. Just as he expected, the customers were all eyeing her. A girl with a pretty face with ANA.VE expression in front of so many men, it was like the lamb wanted to be slaughtered. Arthur finished his drink in a few gulps and placed the glass on the table. He took out some coins and left them there. After that, he stood up and grabbed her hand. He stated, you have worked enough. Let's get out of here. Veronica was confused at first but hurriedly said, Huh. But I can't. I promised to work another 15 minutes. Arthur assured her, don't worry about the promise. I will talk to the Max you told me about. Let's go. He pulled her with him. Veronica pulled her hand away from him. I need to change my clothes. These aren't my clothes. Okay, go, he approved. He decided, in the meantime, I will take care of that Max. He strode to the counter. He knew Max. It wasn't the first time he came here. Max was busy working. He didn't have the time to notice his regular customer. You seem busy, Arthur commented. Max's tired face gleamed. Oh, isn't that my favorite customer? Should I give you the regular? I've already had it. Arthur grabbed him by the collar and yanked at him. Then continued his words, but the next time you hire her to work for you, I will make sure your bar will be demolished. Chapter 38. Tonight's tryst. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 38. Tonight's tryst. Arthur grabbed him by the collar and yanked him. Then continued his words, but the next time you hire her to work for you, I will make sure your bar will be demolished. His voice was colder than the North Pole. It only expressed how angry he was at Max. Since customers were busy drinking and gossiping, they didn't notice the commotion. Moreover, things like that always happened in the bar. So, no one heeded it. Max gave him a nervous smile. Calm down. It's not that I forced her to do it or anything. I asked her help and she agreed. The veins popped on Arthur's forehead. He stated, I don't give a damn about your excuses. You are not allowed to get close to her, let alone make her work for you. And mostly, you are not allowed to give her a free meal. Hold it right there. Why are you speaking as if she is your woman? There is no way, right? If you hook up with someone, even if it's temporary, you know the girls in the town will suffer greatly. Max was a bit confused by his customer's unusual behavior. Being curious and gathering information was his ability. Arthur frowned. He didn't like when others showed interest in him. Watch your mouth. I'm not committed to someone, nor will I ever be. Max squinted his eyes. It was the first time he saw Arthur losing his temper like this. That was unexpected. He couldn't help but ask, is that so? Then why are you being so overly possessive over that woman? It's not that anyone harmed her. She is trying to help her friend in need. Whatever it is, it's none of your business. If you don't heed my words, just prepare for the consequences. Arthur's golden orbs glowed with fire as if he was going to explode in any minute. Max realized that this wasn't time to provoke Arthur any further. He raised his hand and coolly surrendered, all right, you win. Now please let go of me. I need to serve my customers. Arthur gave him one last glare before releasing him. He moved his long legs to the backside of the bar. Geez, that was intense, Max commented while brushing off his shirt. After changing her clothes, Veronica came out and saw Arthur waiting for her. She walked closer and said, Arthur, I'm ready. Let's go. Arthur nodded and both of them walked toward the library. After quite some time, he opened his mouth and demanded, you should stay away from him. That guy is bad news. Veronica looked at him in confusion. Who? Max. No, he is a good guy. He offered me help when I wanted to find you. He even gave me free booze. Booze? The corner of his eyes twitched. His mood got worse seeing how she defended that unworthy guy. He did his best to cool his head and stated, there is no such thing as a free meal. He already made you work for him even though you were his customer at first. Veronica couldn't understand why he said that. She told him, did you forget that I mentioned that he helped me to find you? Arthur reminded her, you were almost sold and violated by a drunkard. Max must have got a huge amount of money for making you work there, even if it's for one night. Upon hearing his words, Veronica was shocked. How can that be? He always smiles and is so friendly. A person like that can't be that bad. Arthur let out a deep sigh. A person who is very friendly for no reason has some kind of ulterior motive. Is it? She tilted her head. But in the temple, everyone who is soft-hearted smiles a lot and they are super friendly. I wish I could introduce you to them. Really? Arthur smirked. I'm looking forward to it then. Veronica couldn't say that she wouldn't be able to live there anymore. She hung her head and walked quietly. Arthur didn't like this silence. So, he broke it again, seeing you without any injury means you weren't punished by the priests. I didn't know they let go of people so easily for breaking the rules. Veronica answered, not at all. The rules in the temple are strict. I was going to be punished horribly. However, my savior came and saved me from the hellish sufferings. Your savior, it quipped his interest. Who is it? Veronica mentioned, the head priest. He doesn't like punishment. Thank goodness that I was saved, or else I would be teaching and babysitting children starting from tomorrow. She shivered just thinking about it. Ahahaha. So that was your punishment. Teaching children. How amusing. Arthur couldn't control his laughter since the punishment was super interesting. Veronica sulked. Oh, don't laugh. I'm not good with children and they just hate me. Nothing could be a worse punishment than this. I see, that's a painful punishment then, Arthur remarked. The punishment was quite justified in his eyes. Tonight, he just learned something new about the temple. The temple's work was an absolute secret. And, the lifestyle of the priests was something that no one ever talked about. Although everyone was curious, they couldn't find an absolute answer. That's why most of the stories about the priest's lifestyle were nothing but rumors. Since you weren't punished, is that why you decided to sneak out again? He asked. No, I came to meet you. I've got Sister Ruth's diary. Veronica showed him the diary that was hidden inside her skirt pocket. Arthur was stunned. He didn't expect her to look for the diary, and she even managed to get a hold of it. And here he thought that she could never achieve it since she was just 2NA.VE. His eyes held some newfound respect for her. As he raised his hand to take the diary, Veronica hurriedly stepped backward. You are not getting it. How can I let a man read a woman's diary? Chapter 39. The content of the diary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As he raised his hand to take the diary from her, Veronica hurriedly stepped backward. You are not getting it. How can I let a man read a woman's diary? First, I will read it. Then, I will tell you shortly what's written in here. Veronica knocked the diary in front of his face. Come on. I gave you the idea of how to get it. The reason Arthur helped her was so that he could finally get a hold of the diary that held the secrets he was looking for. If he couldn't get to read it, what was the point in helping her? Veronica put her arms around her waist and argued back, so what, you helped me? And even if you helped me, I can't believe you want to read it. It must be your hidden intention, just like you mentioned, isn't it? That's why I was wondering why you were being so friendly to me. You have an unspeakable purpose, don't you, Arthur? Arthur didn't expect her to turn the tables and put the blame on him instead. He advised her to be wary of other people, not be wary of him. It made him regret giving her that lecture. He finally sighed and said, I'm just curious why a nun would want to kill herself. The priests aren't forced to live a certain kind of life there, right? If she wanted to move out, she could do it any time. No one would have stopped her either. Why would she choose a sinful path? If you don't want to let me read it, it's fine with me. I don't mind. Just tell me the reason why she chose that ending. Veronica narrowed her eyes, trying to copy him. She wanted to read his mind as he could hers. However, she couldn't. After checking him out for a couple of seconds, she resigned. Fine, I believe you. By the way, do you have any food left in your house? I'm starving. She wasn't able to eat her dinner properly, out of her excitement. Working in the bar for 2 hours in a row and serving snacks and drinks already made her stomach cry several times. She already endured it for 2 hours, but couldn't anymore. Arthur said, I will make you some sandwiches. Let's go. Veronica's face beamed. She liked the sandwich he made for her yesterday. She couldn't wait to eat more. After they reached his home, she went to the dining room. There, she could eat and read peacefully. Meanwhile, Arthur busied himself with fixing what Veronica would call the most delectable sandwiches she ever got to eat on the kitchen counter, not so far from the dining table. While she was reading, Arthur served her the promised sandwiches. As he served her, he tried to peek at what was written in the diary. However, Veronica saw his shadow looming over her. She quickly blocked his view with her hands and then gave him a cold stare. I'm not peeking, Arthur defended himself. I didn't ask you anything. Veronica dubiously gazed at him and took a bite of the sandwich. You people take advantage of every situation, don't you? By you people, she meant common people who lived outside the temple. Arthur knew he was busted. He let out a dry cough and lectured her, well, people you live with have a simple life. They live in a comfort zone. They don't have malice in them because they never faced anything harsh. As for these people, they had to face reality every day, they saw how cruel the world could be. That's why they became selfish and cunning, to survive in the real world. Is it enough to feed your curiosity, princess? Veronica spoke, it's not related to the action why you were peeking at the diary. Acting all high and mighty, Arthur thought in his mind. I'm sorry for peeking, he apologized. I'll be in my study room upstairs. If you need anything, let me know. All right, now leave. Veronica shooed him away. Just whose house is this? Arthur wondered. He went to the study room and found Sebastian standing close to the table, wearing the usual black clothes. How long have you been waiting for? He asked. Sebastian answered, 15 minutes, master. Arthur blamed him, you are late. Sebastian bowed and apologized, I'm sorry, master. I was being chased. Arthur furrowed his eyebrows. By whom? He inquired. Sebastian replied, a group of people who were after what you wanted. Arthur hummed. I see. Did you get it? Yes, it's safe and sound. Here, saying that Sebastian took out a red velvet box, with a rectangular size. The edges of the box were designed in pure gold. Arthur opened the box and saw what's inside. He checked it and found out that it was the real one. He was satisfied and said, good job. Be sure to notify that person that I got what I needed. Also, I need 2 portions of the purple bottle. Just tell that person and he will give it to you. You have 2 days to bring it back to me. Sebastian said, yes, master. He told me to send this letter to you. He took out an envelope that was sealed with a lion's face. Arthur took the envelope and checked the content before humming, I have no interest in replying to such a letter. Don't bring a letter that doesn't have any important content. Yes, master. Sebastian wanted to say that he couldn't read the letter. How would he know if it's an important letter or not? Knock. 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 Someone politely knocked on the door, interrupting their conversation. With Arthur's signal, Sebastian slipped out of the window. After he left, Arthur calmly yet swiftly kept the box away in the inconspicuous drawer of his table before locking it safely. He then stood up and walked to the door. He unlocked the door and opened it. Veronica was standing in the doorway with a pale face. What's wrong? Arthur asked her. He had a feeling that something wasn't right. Veronica answered, the diary, some pages are torn. There is no way to tell why she committed suicide. Chapter 40. Torn pages. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The diary, some pages are torn. There is no way to tell why she committed suicide. Veronica's voice quivered as she spoke. Arthur frowned. He reached out his hand and said, let me see for a second. Veronica handed him the diary and he flipped over the pages. His eyes skillfully scanned the contents as he checked. He had the ability to understand a person's personality from his or her handwriting. Sister Ruth had a gentle handwriting style. There was no spelling mistake. That means she was calm, collected, and caring as a person. She was a daughter of an aristocrat. It wasn't mentioned in the diary what rank her father was. She left home after she had some sort of disagreement with her father. She wanted to find peace. She went to the temple and began to live there. Her life was peaceful ever since. Sometimes, she would contact her parents through letters. They wanted her to leave the temple and live the way they wanted. But, she refused and didn't heed their words any longer. One day, she saw some children leaving the temple using a secret hole hidden under the bush. Since it was forbidden to get out without permission, she knew they would be punished for breaking the rules. So, she followed them and tried to locate them. She got herself a helper who helped her to find them. A helper. Arthur squinted his eyes. Who could it be? He pondered. After that, Sister Ruth and that person met frequently. As for how they met, it wasn't written clearly. From her choice of words, it seemed she fancied that person. Whether it was a male or female, there was no way to find it out. Even though it was her secret diary, she hid many details well. Did she think someone could read her diary one day? Arthur doubted. It shouldn't happen in the temple. He glanced at the girl next to him and asked, "Do you have privacy in the temple?" "What kind of privacy?" "Like someone barging into your room when you are out and search your room without your permission to check if you have something valuable." "It never happened. Furthermore, we don't have anything valuable. Whatever we have been given, those have been given all from the temple. It would be weird if they tried to search our rooms when we don't usually go out. So, whatever they will find is just the stuff they have given you. Therefore, there is no reason for them to search." Arthur nodded as though he understood. That makes sense. If no one was going to read her diary, why did she write it so mysteriously, he wondered. He flipped over more pages. It seemed she did something she shouldn't have, and she was surprised that she didn't feel guilty about it. Since she didn't feel guilty even though she knew she was wrong, it drove her mad. She lost her peace of mind and she became restless. Arthur could sense her madness increasing slowly but surely as he turned the pages and came across some incoherent sentences. And after that, there was nothing else. The pages were torn. It made him wonder, just what could make a person dive into the depth of madness enough to convince that person of committing suicide? Her attitude changed drastically and it was like she was not herself anymore. She kept pondering about something and wrote, "I shouldn't have done that, but I have no regrets." Did she fall in love or something? But priests can get married though. Maybe she fell in love with a spy. Tisk. Arthur clicked his tongue in annoyance as he couldn't find a reason. There was no need for a kingdom to worry about this holy land. Sending a spy here would be the last thing a king would do. Veronica's shoulders slumped. Everything I did was for nothing. I can't believe the pages are torn. She sounded very dejected. There is nothing you can do about it now. Maybe she tore the pages and burnt them before death. She didn't want to leave any clue behind. Veronica commented, after reading the last few pages of the diary, "It makes me feel that she wasn't in the right mind to think things through." "You are right." Arthur shut the diary and looked at her thoughtfully. "So, tell me. Why do you look like this? Isn't the first time you are doing things like this?" "Doing what things?" Veronica gave him a confused gaze. Arthur remarked, "It's like you are a mystery solver." "Me? A mystery solver? It's not what you think it is." Veronica shook her head and denied his claim. She explained, "It's not that I want to solve a mystery. It's just that I want to get to the bottom of things. I can't catch a wink of sleep if I can't find what I want to know." Arthur said, "It's almost the same thing. How many times did you do it to think like a pro?" Veronica cocked her head. "Like a pro?" Arthur explained, "There are people who like to solve mysteries like you, and they even get paid for it. They are called detectives." "Detectives." Veronica mumbled slowly. It was the first time she heard this word. Well, Arthur could understand. In religious, philosophical, and geographical books, no one would find the word detective. Arthur narrated shortly, "Yes, they are not in this city since people hardly did any crime here. But, you will find them in other countries. They find the truth behind a crime and catch the criminals." "That's so cool." Veronica's eyes sparkled. "Does that mean I'm a detective too?" Arthur found her expression amusing. "You are, but not the official kind. Everyone listens to an official detective and lets him investigate whatever they want to. Of course, there are enemies, but the detectives can fight off the bad guys. I can't wait to become an official detective." "How to be an official detective then?" Veronica urged him. "This way, I can find out the reason behind Sister Ruth's death."